Àpò òpin ọ̀sẹ̀ ooo. Rochard náà ń pè bí o. Mo ti rọ́nà àbáyọ sí Nàìjíríà o. Elémùrè Ògúnyẹmí. Ìyẹn ti kú o. Àfà Elémùrè Ògúnyẹmí kẹ̀. Ìyẹn mà ti kú àlàyé ní ká bá rojọ́. Mo mà ti rọ́nà àbáyọ sí Nàìjíríà o. Registered Saturday on the 25th. Mo mà dúpẹ́ olówó Olódùmarè ọjọ́ àbí mi. Mo mà dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run àwọn ọmọ ogun o, gbogbo àwọn tó ti kí mi fọ́jọ́ ìbí ẹ̀ mà ṣeun mo dúpẹ́. Okay, mi ò máa ń ṣe birthday mi ò ń celebrate ẹ̀ so. How do I celebrate my birthday? And how do I think, or what's my opinion concerns those who celebrate birthdays? Dito, I love it. Me, I celebrate birthday in big way, in big form. I'm sure gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ́nà tó wà pa gbogbo ẹ̀ inú mi dùn. Màá tí máa ti rí wọn máa ń ebi gan máa ń jowú. But you know, as a prophet, mo design and I agree that birthday or no birthday, tó bá ti di January tí bá ti ń save tọrọ kọ́bọ̀ ó lè jẹ́ $1 lénìí lọ́sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ $50 bọ́lọ̀ máa bless mi sí. So preferably màá fẹ́ láti lọ sílé àwọn ọmọ aláìní ìṣẹ̀yẹ. So whatever you send to me as a birthday gift is project back to the motherless children. And that is why I so much love láti máa mo prefer ní pé kéèyàn go in charity. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n join àti charity join ní global the Global Foundation. Ó gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wọ̀nyí mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o tẹ̀sí kí mi. Lágbára lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ní fi ìbànújẹ́ lu ọjọ́ orí ti yín o. Mi ò ní rí ìbànújẹ́. Ẹ̀yin náà dẹ̀ ní rí mi náà sunkún o. Ayọ̀ wá kún. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Birthday boy. Okay, mo ti rí ọ̀nà àbáyọ sí ìṣòro Nàìjíríà. Mi ò ṣeré o. Ti rọ́nà àbáyọ. Ọ̀nà àbáyọ yẹn. Mo máa ń sọ gbogbo ìgbà ẹ̀gbọ́n ojúyọbọ. Ẹ̀gbọ́n wa ni. Ọmọ ẹni kì í burú ká lè fẹ́ kó bàjẹ́. Ṣé rí gbogbo ẹ̀yin wèrè? Ẹ̀yin wèrè. Tẹ́ ẹ̀dá kan mọ̀ tẹ́ ẹ̀ ń bú mi. Ètò ìgbòho lọ́wọ́ Tinubu. Olóṣèlú ni. How market? Báwo lọjà ṣe ẹ jà? Òkú brọ́dà wa àdòkan ṣé wọ́n ti gbà á? Àwùjọ lọ́jọ́ sí. Ẹnìkan ní jẹ́ kí Ìgbòho jáde kó lọ ṣe rálì. Ó máa dẹyẹ, ó máa di mẹ́ta, á di márùn-ún. I thank God for that guy. Olóyè gbọ́njọ ẹ̀yìn lọ. Olórí burúkú ni yìí ìkàdẹ̀ ni. You are evil. Ọkàn yìí ò mọ́ ọkàn. Inú yìí korò. Ènìyàn ìkà lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ lórí. Èmi believe pé ńgbà tá a gbé àwọn Nàìjíríà lọ sí kóòtù ẹ̀yìn kan tó yẹ kẹ́yìn jà fún mi pé báwo ni a ṣe fẹ́ gba àkáǹtì ẹ̀. Báwo lẹ fẹ́ kọ́mọ lọ́mọ kó tọ́jú fámìlì ẹ̀. Ìgbókò oúnjẹ ọmọ Germany orí láìka ẹ̀ ni. Bọ́gà ò bá gbòòrò rárá jọ orí pé ikùn ẹ̀ ti ṣe kiri. ṣúgà ò bá lára jọ ọmọ Yorùbá pọ́nbélé ni bí pé ká jàmàlà ká jẹ gbẹ̀gìrì ẹ mọ̀ ká jògún pé oyè ká jẹja gbígbẹ ẹ mọ̀ kó mu pẹpẹ soup ìgbékéyàn jẹ ẹ̀bà kó jẹ yẹn ọ̀kéyàn lọ́ọ́ máa jẹjẹ kú jẹ jámì yẹ kọ́ lórí ẹ̀ òun náà dẹ̀ máa ń sọ so nǹkan tí mo ṣe ń béèrè pé how market lọ́wọ́ yín nìyí mo rí màmá kan United Nations yá United Nations yá báwo how market wọ́n wèrè kan lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta wọ́n ní bàbá fẹ́ lọ sọ̀rọ̀ ní United Nations ẹ máa dáwó wọ́n ti ń pààyàn lókè gun o ẹ máa dá 5,000 olórí burúkú ni ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ ní ṣe oríire torí ẹ̀ẹ́gbẹ́tì ẹ̀dẹ̀ ẹ̀mọ̀ ìkàlẹ̀ kan ṣe ẹ̀mọ̀ kóòtọ́ ni mi ń sọ ẹ kàn fẹ́ yí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọdún yìí kò tẹ́ wá débẹ̀ sí iṣẹ́ jíjí ẹ ti gba Yorùbá kò tẹ̀ ìkà ẹ̀mọ̀ nǹkan tó dáa kò ti ìkàlẹ̀ yìí ẹ mọ̀ pé constitution 1999 sọ pé treason and felony ẹ kàwé ló jẹ́ kẹ́ lọ kọ́ àwọn ọmọ ọlọ́mọ yẹn dànù wọ́n wà lẹ́wọ̀n títí báyìí sọ̀rọ̀ yìí torí pé ẹ ní kà nínú àwọn ọmọ tí yóò pẹ̀lú wọn o àwọn tó kó ń bàdàn ọmọ tí yóò pẹ̀lú wọn o. àjẹ pariwo ń gbà yẹn pé kò sí nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe kọ́ ọmọ yín nílé ìwé yẹn nígbà tẹ́ ń ṣe bẹ̀ tẹ́ ń tẹ̀bà tẹ́ ń dáná tẹ́ ń kọ́ ọmọ bó ṣe máa wẹ̀ bó ṣe máa fẹnu tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá kọ́kọ́ Nàìjíríà ti yọ syllabus history kúrò nínú tó ń kọ́ wọn ò mọ nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ mọ́. mo rántí Dr. Aliu lọ sí what is it called university kan ní Ìbàdàn gbà yẹn àwọn lecturer wọn gbà yẹn ló gbóná gbígbé Dr. Aliu sit wọn down for just 5 minutes orí wọn pé lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ gbogbo nǹkan Dr. Aliu sọ fún wọn wọn. What are we saying in essence is that nook and cranny káwọn èèyàn ti wà orí ẹ̀ ń tẹ̀ àsọ̀ǹgbà yẹn. gbogbo iṣẹ́ táwa ṣe ló wà kàkàkiri náà ẹ tọ́ka sí nǹkan ẹyọ kan tẹ́ ẹ ṣe báyìí pẹ̀lú mọ́tò tẹ́ ẹ gbà pẹ̀lú ọ̀kadà tẹ́ ẹ gbà pẹ̀lú owó rọ̀gùnrọ̀ agbọ́lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí tẹ́ ẹ ń jà lówó ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ti ṣí kinní fáwọn ọmọ ẹ̀ ṣí kinní fún ìyàwó ẹ̀ àmì ibi tó ti ń tàlẹ̀ sí gbogbo ẹ̀ lágbọ́. ṣùgbọ́n yẹ mọ̀ wípé ajé ìrànà ni nǹkan burúkú ni ẹ bá wo òtútù táwọn ìyá tó ń dáwó yẹn ń pa èpè tó ń gbẹ̀yìn iṣẹ́ olólọ́mẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n èmi ti rí solution sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá bẹ́ẹ̀ ni sà solution tí mi dẹ̀ rí ẹ̀yin fún ara yín lẹ lè fà á ya lẹ lè bá yí ẹ̀ jẹ́ ẹ lọ ṣe research dáadáa pé báwo lẹ ṣe lè kúrò lábẹ́ constitution yìí báwo lẹ ṣe lè kúrò lábẹ́ Nàìjíríà ẹ lọ ṣe constitution lọ rò dáadáa ẹ lọ wádìí ẹ̀ dáadáa. I say a lot of things to want to mention to you. The most powerful president in the world today, ọmọ yín tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀. Ṣé rí Tinubu tó bá jàdúà bójú orí awọ lẹ fẹ́ jòkólé bó jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ lọ gbẹ́bọ tì í bó jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ gorí òkè lọ ẹ̀yin pásítọ̀ olè tẹ́ ń jẹ́ God will bless you. Ẹ gbàgbé gbogbo irọ́ tẹ̀ ń pa yẹn. Ọlọ́run ti bless wa already. Ẹ kó ṣì dànù. Ẹ lọ kẹ lọ bá Tinubu ni. Practical ni ẹ ṣe bí Elijah ṣe lọ bá àwọn tó ń darí tẹ́lẹ̀ lọ. Òun sọ̀rọ̀ wèrè tẹ́ ń jẹ wọ̀nyẹn. Príṣì ń lọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní motivational speaker ni ẹ̀sọ̀rọ̀ ayé di pastor lọ́lọ́run ọlọ́run pè yín o torí ìlú dàrú mọ́ yín lórí ní ìrí wòlíì tí ìlú dàrú mọ́ lórí bíi tìyín báyìí ni kí genocide dẹ̀ máa lọ IDP camp everywhere ẹ̀rẹ̀ pé ayé pastor ẹ wo Bishop Kuka ó yẹnu padà lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta ẹ̀ tẹ́ni tí mo respect kúkú yẹ wẹ̀nà religion scam mi ná ẹgbàá gbogbo ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ẹ̀yin Yorùbá ẹ lọ gbẹ́bọ ẹ lọ ṣoògùn ẹ lọ ẹnì tí tẹ́ bá máa pẹ́ máa ṣe sí Tinubu òun ni president tó lágbára jù lágbàáyé èmi nìkan kọ́ ni mo mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ gbogbo yín mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà àwọn tájọjà ìjà nàndẹ́kò sọ wọ́n ti fọ̀nà kalẹ̀ ẹgbọ́n solution àgbákàmọ́.
Detail one, describing how Nigeria can get out of the conundrum, which I described tonight as a constitutional conundrum, because we say there's a problem with the constitution, but how do we exit it? What do we do with it? We've been repairing and repairing. We've done 5 alterations of that document since 1999 when we got into the 4th Republic. But the question is the constitution a problem? If it is, how do we get rid of it? Can we exit it? What about the vacuum? Mr. Olitabakuba has seen it all. Constitutional amendment, framing of new constitution from 79 to date and all of that, the Republican constitution, a lot of things that have happened in this country. Mr. Abakuba, my question, which I laid premise to before we went on that break, is that what do we need? When you say that there is a structural problem, it lies in the fundamentals of what brings us together as a people, meaning that our constitution is lacking the fortification to allow the state to function properly. Then the question, do we need a new constitution, or we can keep amending this one, or where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I think history can help us answer the question you have posed. Remember that the late Bola Ige once posed 2 important questions. The first question he put to us back then when he was alive was, what do we want to do? Are we prepared to be in one country called Nigeria? Oh, that was the first important critical question that he put on the table. He then put a second subsidiary question. If we answer in the positive that we want to be one, what type of arrangements do we think suits us? Those are the 2 questions. Since Bola Ige's death over 20 years ago, these 2 questions have been unanswered. And I think that is part of our problem. We all know that we are a nation of diverse people. Our president returned us to the national anthem, which I think people say suits us better than the Arise or Compatriots. Now, if you have diverse people, then you are looking for a political arrangement that will suit our diversity. That's where federalism comes in. So we agree that a federal system is suitable for Nigeria. The problem is, what type of federal system is suitable? There's several. In political language, we talk about centripetal and centrifugal. Centrifugal meaning a pyramid where everything is on top. Centripetal meaning that everyone has space. The late Chief M.K. Obiala once put it to me in a very, very simple way. He said, he's got 4 wives, and if all wives were centralized in his one big building, and they all have children, and the quarrel would be, what soup do we have for the day? It'll be what Nigerians call katakata. But what he said made sense to me. If you put the wives in different arrangements around his big mansion, then whatever wife wants to make whatever soup or rice for whatever kid, there'll be no problem, because that is been devolved at another level, not his level. That, I think, is so apt for Nigeria. Nigeria is made up of 300 different ethnicities, several languages, but we have only one strong presidential system. Only one president with all the powers. That's the problem. The governments have no powers. They're not chief security officers. When Rotimi Amechi was governor of Anambra of River State, he wasn't even allowed into his government lodge because the police blocked him out. So the real question that we need to pose is, do we have a constitution that reflects our federalism? That's all. We don't. Do I trust the National Assembly to give us a constitution? Well, I have a problem with the National Assembly because they've taken 25 years in doing this and they have reached no solution. Am I more concerned with process? So some talk about referendum. I'm not. I'm interested in what Nigerians need. And if we can have the National Assembly produce a constitution which, if they show everybody, will all say, this is what we want, I'm all for it. But so, looking at the history of looking at, yes?
So I was going to categorize, right?
Yes.
Who are those that will draft it? How do we go about it? How do we come about and brand new constitution?
No, before we get to that, it is first to analyze who we are and where we want to go. That's where I was headed. Then we now come to the question you are asking. So I would then ask, should the National Assembly do it? Look, I would say, yeah, maybe, but they spent too much time, 25 years. Or do we have a national constitutional conference? Well, we've had a lot of them, and there's been no result. So you can see that neither of the national confab system or the National Assembly system has produced results. So I would say that the only person who can drive this agenda is the president. And remember that when they were campaigning, Peter Obi, Atiku, Bola Tinubu all made the issue of devolution a central and cardinal program of their agendas. But I don't hear anybody saying anything about it. President Tinubu has been in office long enough to have promulgated for us a new constitution in 6 months. So if the National Assembly hasn't done well, the national constitutional conferences that have been called by OBJ, by IBB, by even Abacha, by Jonathan, produced no results, then maybe let's ask the president, you are the chief executive officer of Nigeria, exercising executive power under Section 5 of the Constitution. Give us a constitution. Let's look at it. Let's absolutely look at it. You have the power to do that. After all, the president gave financial autonomy to the 774 local governments. He can drive a new constitutional process. So that's what I see that is new. The National Assembly has done it 25 years and has achieved nothing. 5, 6, 7 past national constitutional conferences have achieved nothing. So maybe the president should now intervene the way he even intervened and removed the service chiefs in what you call a bold move. So let the president...
You were prescribing, or you prescribed a 4-year term for this to happen. And you've said that 25 years, this National Assembly has struggled to make the Constitution work, but you call the Constitution an irredeemable document. You said it means that between 2027 and 2030, we should be able to produce a brand new Constitution. The key word here is that if President Bola Tinubu decides to activate what you are proposing, won't there be a political derailment or pushback on this?
Good question.
Why should that be? If he has the interest of Nigerians at heart, why would there be? And he's not going to do it alone. There's a structure to which he has to report. There's the National Assembly, there's the civil society. We know what will be good when we see one. Everybody knows that the problem with Nigeria is that the constitutional arrangement makes the president... If President Tinubu were to produce a constitution that devolves real authority from the presidency down to the governors and down to the 774 local governments in a transparent way, I'm not sure he'll be opposed. But if he uses...
you know so well, and you know too well about the structure of this country. A Nigerian president is perhaps one of the most powerful person on earth. The power the Constitution of Nigeria gives to a president of Nigeria is almost absolute. There is almost nothing that the president wants that he cannot get. I mean, compared to other world leaders, I'm not sure about from the buttons that the American president presses he has access to the nuclear weaponry. The Nigerian president just wields so much power. Do you think a sitting Nigerian president will have the political will and the audacity to say, I will whittle down my own power by bringing a new constitution? Do you think it's practical? Do you think it's possible?
Why not? Why not? Doesn't he want to win elections? If people are suffering and what he does by bringing the new constitution makes him popular, isn't that a gain for him? I would think so. If the president is going to campaign for 2027 and in the process makes us feel good, wouldn't that be a plus for him? I would think so. I would think that if he were able to reduce poverty by empowering the local governments, really making the local governments to do what they ought to do, it would make him look good. Why should people think that when the president does good, it wouldn't count for him? So I would think, to be quite honest with you, that anyone who is in power, anybody who is in power, now I depart from the president, so I don't just talk about it.
Detail 1, describing how Nigeria can get out of the conundrum which I described tonight as a
people were brought to court because they said they protested against a court order. We were still challenging the propriety of even the arraignment on the ground that,
including my humble self standing here, all the politicians in northern Nigeria in the last 15 years, we should be held accountable to what is happening in northern Nigeria in terms of poverty, unemployment, lack of education, lack of security. As of 2016, some of us that live here in Kaduna, and Northwest in particular, were not aware of anything called banditry, kidnappings, or insurgency. If there's anybody here who is aware of that, can also attest to the fact that as of 2016, not 2019, 16, there was nothing like kidnappings even in Benogwari. I can tell you that for a fact. What went wrong?
Come, let me tell you the major problem of Nigeria. The major problem of Nigeria is northern part of the country. Northern Nigeria are the major problem of Nigeria. If you want to see conflict, northern Nigeria. Rape, northern Nigeria. Refugees, northern Nigeria. Thieves. In fact, if you want to see thieves stealing on an industrial scale, come to northern Nigeria. Thieves fully engaged in primitive accumulation, come to northern Nigeria. In fact, I am from northern Nigeria. I am proud to be an indigenous of Borno State. I am from Borno State. I am proud to be an indigenous of Borno State, from the northern part of the country. But I want to tell you that the major problem of this country is northern part of the country. These are people, if you want to see hatred, if you want to see conflict, if you want to see nepotism, cronyism, any other thing you can label. In fact, if you carve out southern part of the country from Nigeria and give it 10 years, they are going to be recognized among community of nations because of the development they will have. 70% of the people who govern this country are from the northern part of the country. But if you want to see hunger, starvation, and any other thing, it's from the north. Why? We are the major problem. But our people doesn't want us to be speaking the truth. And that is why we continue to somersault in this kind of issue.
All of us, including my home